You are already that which you are seeking. You have always been that. You can never not be that. Robert Adams. These words carry everything you need to understand about spiritual awakening, but understanding them intellectually is not the same as recognizing their truth in your own being. So let us begin with where you are, not where the teaching says you should be. You want to know how to awaken spiritually. The wanting itself is where we must begin, to understand what is actually occurring when this wanting arises. Something in you knows that the way you are experiencing life is not the whole truth. Something recognizes that beneath the constant movement of thought and emotion and circumstance, there is a deeper reality you have not yet touched. This knowing is not wrong, but the movement that follows it, the reaching, the seeking, the trying to achieve awakening as if it were an object that could be grasped, creates the very distance it is trying to close. Sit with this for a moment. The spiritual search begins because something feels incomplete. Life as you are living it does not satisfy in some fundamental way. Even when circumstances are good, even when you have what you thought you wanted, there is a background sense of something missing. And the mind, doing what minds do, turns this sense of incompleteness into a project. It decides that what is missing is enlightenment, awakening, spiritual realization. It creates an image of what the awakened state must be like, and then begins the journey toward that imagined destination. But every step of this journey is taking you further from what you are actually looking for, because what you are looking for is not in the future, and it is not the result of any journey. What you are looking for is here, now, prior to the search, prior to the sense of incompleteness, prior to the entire structure of being a someone who lacks something. This is not a riddle. This is the most direct statement possible about the nature of awakening. You already are what you seek. The consciousness that is reading these words, the awareness that is present in this moment, is not different from the consciousness of every awakened being who has ever lived. Consciousness does not come in degrees. It does not have levels or qualities or variations. There is simply consciousness, aware of being conscious. And this is the same whether it is apparently localized in a body that believes itself unawakened or in a body that has seen through that belief. The difference is not in what you are. The difference is in what you believe yourself to be. Right now, you believe you are a person. You believe you are the thoughts that arise in your mind. You believe you are the emotions that move through your body. You believe you are the history that has accumulated over the years of this life. You believe you are the one who needs to awaken, and this entire structure of belief is what obscures the recognition of what you actually are. Let us investigate this directly, not theoretically, not philosophically, but through immediate observation of what is actually present in your experience right now. Notice that you are aware. This is undeniable. Even if you doubt everything else, even if you question the reality of the world, or the existence of other minds, or the truth of any perception, you cannot doubt that awareness is present. Something is aware of the doubting. Something is conscious of the questioning. This awareness, this consciousness, is the foundation of all experience. It is what you know with absolute certainty, not because you have proven it logically, but because it is self-evident. It knows itself by being itself. Now notice that this awareness is aware of thoughts. A thought arises in your mind. Maybe the thought, I am aware, or I am following these words, or I wonder if this is true. Whatever the thought, you are aware of it. The thought appears in awareness the way an object appears in a room. The awareness is not the thought. The awareness is what knows the thought. This is not a subtle distinction. This is as obvious as the difference between the sky and a cloud. The cloud appears in the sky, moves through the sky, dissolves back into the sky, but the sky is never the cloud. In exactly this way, thoughts appear in awareness, move through awareness, dissolve back into awareness, but awareness is never the thought. The same is true of emotions. Notice that whatever you are feeling right now, you are aware of feeling it. The feeling is an object of awareness. It has a quality, a texture, an intensity. It arises, peaks, subsides. But the awareness that knows the feeling does not arise or subside. It is constant. It is present in every emotional state equally. When you are joyful, awareness is present. When you are sad, awareness is present. When you feel nothing in particular, awareness is present. The awareness is not modified by what it is aware of. It remains what it is regardless of content. The same is true of the body. You are aware of sensations. You are aware of the body's position in space. You are aware of tension or relaxation, pleasure or pain, warmth or cold. All of these are objects appearing in awareness. The body itself is something you are aware of. Therefore, you cannot be the body. You are what knows the body, not what the body knows. What knows the body? This investigation is the beginning of the end of the false identification. Because when you see clearly that you are not your thoughts, not your emotions, not your body, the question arises naturally, then what am I? And this question cannot be answered by the mind. The mind can only produce more objects, more concepts, more identifications. The mind might say, I am the soul, or I am consciousness, or I am awareness, but these are still thoughts, still objects appearing in what you actually are. What you actually are cannot be objectified. It cannot be made into a thing. It is not a thing at all. What you are is the knowing itself, the awareness itself, the consciousness that is aware of everything, including the thought of being conscious. And this consciousness is not personal. It does not belong to you. There is no separate you to whom consciousness could belong. There is simply consciousness, appearing as this particular body-mind, looking out through these particular eyes, thinking these particular thoughts, but never actually contained by any of this, never actually limited to this form. This is where the teaching becomes most subtle and most important, because the mind, hearing this, will try to turn it into a new identity. It will say, so I am consciousness. I am not the body-mind, I am the awareness behind it. And this becomes a new form of identification, a spiritual ego, a subtle sense of being someone special, someone who has understood, someone who is aware of being awareness. But this too is a thought. This too is an object in consciousness. The one who believes themselves to be consciousness is still operating from the position of a separate self, just with a more refined understanding. The actual recognition is not that you are consciousness. The actual recognition is that there is only consciousness, no separate you, no division between the awareness and what is aware, no subject observing objects, just this seamless happening, this undivided flow of experiencing with no center, no circumference, no inside or outside. When a sound is heard, there is not a hearer separate from the hearing. There is simply hearing happening. When a thought arises, there is not a thinker separate from the thinking. There is simply thinking happening. And all of this happening is the spontaneous expression of consciousness, knowing itself through infinite forms. You are not having an experience right now. You are the experience itself. The feeling of being a separate someone who is experiencing is itself part of the experience, not the one having it. The sense of, I am here, in this body, perceiving this world, is itself a perception, an appearance in consciousness, not the consciousness to which it appears. When this is genuinely seen, the entire structure of separation collapses. Not because you destroy it, not because you transcend it, but because you recognize it as a misunderstanding. The way someone recognizes that the rope they thought was a snake was always a rope. So how do you reach this recognition? You cannot reach it, because reaching implies movement, and this is not somewhere else. You cannot practice your way to it, because practice implies time, and this is outside of time. You cannot achieve it, because achievement implies a future attainment, and this is only ever now. What is possible is the falling away of the belief that you are not this already. What is possible is the seeing through of the thoughts and identifications that create the appearance of separation. What is possible is honest, continuous investigation, of what you are prior to every thought you have ever had about what you are. This investigation is not difficult. It does not require years of meditation or special conditions or a perfect teacher or a lineage or a technique. It requires only honesty, the willingness to look at what is actually here rather than continuing to believe the stories about what is here. And what is here, in every moment without exception, is the simple fact of being. You exist. Consciousness is present. Awareness knows itself. This is the foundation. This is what remains when everything else is subtracted. This is what you are. But let us be practical. Let us map the territory of this recognition so you can see where you are and what naturally unfolds. These are not steps you take. They are stages of seeing that happen when the false is gradually released. The first stage is disillusionment with the world, not depression, not cynicism, but the honest recognition that nothing in the external world, no achievement, no relationship, no acquisition, no experience, ever produces the lasting fulfillment it promises. You have tasted enough of life to know this. The promotion comes, and after a brief surge of satisfaction, the background incompleteness returns. The relationship begins with intensity and passion, and whether it lasts or ends, eventually the same fundamental loneliness persists beneath it. The new house, the new car, the new accomplishment, each one delivers a moment of pleasure and then fades into ordinariness, leaving the same searching, the same sense that something essential is missing. This disillusionment is not failure. This is the beginning of wisdom. Most people spend their entire lives refusing to see this pattern clearly. They believe the next thing will be different. The next achievement will finally satisfy. The next relationship will finally complete them. But you have seen through this. Something in you recognizes that the search in the external world is endless because what you are searching for is not there. This recognition is grace. This is what turns attention inward. The second stage is the discovery of inner states. Having seen that external circumstances do not produce lasting peace, you turn to meditation, to spiritual practice, to techniques designed to change your internal state. And this works to a degree. Meditation produces calm. Breathwork produces clarity. Mantras produce concentration. You have experiences of peace, of expansion, of unity, of bliss. And for a time, this seems like progress. You believe you are getting closer to awakening. You believe these states are what awakening is. But then you notice something. The states come and go. The profound peace you felt in meditation fades when you return to ordinary life. The expansion contracts. The bliss subsides. And you are back where you started, except now with the additional burden of knowing what you are missing, of having tasted something extraordinary and lost it. This is when many people become addicted to spiritual experiences, chasing peak states, accumulating techniques, trying to make the temporary permanent. But this too is grace, though it does not feel like it, because the instability of states is what reveals that awakening is not a state. When a young man sat under the Bodhi tree, he had mastered every meditation technique available in his time. He had achieved states of consciousness his teachers declared to be the highest attainable. And yet he knew, with absolute certainty, that this was not it. The states ended. What he was looking for did not end. So he stopped trying to achieve states and simply sat with the question, what is always here? What remains when every state has come and gone? What he discovered was not a state. What he discovered was the awareness in which all states appear. The consciousness that is present in meditation and present in ordinary activity, present in bliss and present in suffering, present in clarity and present in confusion. This awareness does not come and go because it is not an object. It is what knows all objects. And this discovery is the beginning of the third stage. The third stage is the recognition of the witness. You begin to notice that you are not the content of experience, but the awareness of the content. You are not the thoughts, but what knows the thoughts. You are not the emotions, but what feels the emotions. You are not the body, but what inhabits the body. This is a profound shift. For the first time, there is space between you and your experience. You are no longer completely identified with every passing mood, every random thought, every circumstance. There is a part of you that remains unchanged, that watches everything come and go without being touched by it. This stage brings immense relief. The witness perspective allows you to navigate life without being overwhelmed by it. Difficult emotions arise, but you are not consumed by them. You see them, you feel them, but you know you are not them. Thoughts of anxiety or inadequacy appear, but they no longer have the same power, because you recognize them as objects in awareness rather than as truths about what you are. Many people stabilize in this stage and call it awakening, and in a sense it is. The identification with the person has loosened significantly, but there is something subtle happening here that must be seen. The witness is still a position. It is still a sense of being someone, just a more expansive someone. You are the awareness observing the person, but there is still a you, still a sense of separation between the observer and the observed. A man spent years stabilizing in this witness consciousness. He could observe his thoughts and emotions with perfect equanimity. He believed himself to be awareness itself, untouched by the play of phenomena. But his teacher kept pressing him. Who is aware of the witness? Who is aware of being awareness? At first, this seemed like a nonsensical question. If I am awareness, who could be aware of that? But he stayed with the question. And eventually, in a moment that cannot be described because it happened outside the realm of the describable, the witness collapsed, not into nothing, into everything. There was no longer someone observing experience. There was simply experience. No division, no separation, just this seamless happening with no center and no circumference. This is the fourth stage, though calling it a stage is misleading because it is the end of all stages. This is the recognition of non-duality, not as a philosophy, not as a belief, but as the living reality of what is. There is no separate self. There never was. The entire structure of being a someone who experiences things was a misunderstanding, a case of mistaken identity so convincing that it seemed to be the foundation of existence itself. But when it is seen through, when the subject-object division dissolves, what remains is not emptiness. What remains is the totality. You are not awareness observing the world. You are the world being aware of itself. The consciousness that looks through your eyes is the same consciousness that grows the trees, that moves the stars, that beats the hearts of all beings. There is only one consciousness, appearing as the multiplicity of forms, and you are that consciousness temporarily localized in this particular body-mind, but never actually separate from the whole, never actually limited to this form. This recognition does not happen through effort. A woman sat in meditation for years, practicing awareness of awareness, trying to see through the illusion of self. She attended retreats, studied texts, asked questions of teachers, and nothing happened. The separate self remained convincingly real. One afternoon, sitting in her garden, not meditating, not practicing, just sitting, a bird sang, and in the hearing of that sound, something shifted. There was no one hearing the bird. There was simply hearing. The bird and the hearing and the awareness of hearing were not separate. They were one seamless event. And in that moment, the entire edifice of the separate self was seen to be empty, not destroyed, just recognized as never having had substance in the first place. This is how it happens. Not through accumulation, but through subtraction. Not through becoming, but through seeing. Not through the effort of a self trying to awaken, but through the recognition that the self is the only thing that was ever asleep. And when it is seen that the self is a construction, a thought claiming to be the thinker, the whole game ends. But let us address the practical question. How do you move through these stages? You do not move through them. They unfold naturally when the false is no longer fed. Each stage is a deepening of honesty, a willingness to see through the next layer of illusion. You cannot force this. You cannot practice your way to the end, but you can stop practicing the things that maintain the illusion. And this is where the teaching becomes entirely practical. Stop believing your thoughts. This does not mean suppress them or fight them. It means see them for what they are. Spontaneous arisings in consciousness with no inherent truth value. A thought says, "I am not good enough," and immediately you believe it, you become it, you suffer from it. But what if you simply saw it as a thought, an appearance in awareness, no more true than a cloud is true, no more solid than a dream is solid? The thought still arises, but the identification with it loosens, and in that loosening, space opens. Stop defending your identity. Notice how much energy goes into maintaining the story of who you are. The need to be seen in a certain way, the need to protect your image, the need to justify your choices, the need to be right. All of this is the activity of a self that believes itself to be real and therefore must defend its reality. But what if you simply allowed people to think whatever they think about you? What if you allowed your own thoughts about yourself to come and go without defending against them or clinging to them? The identity starts to become transparent, not because you destroyed it, but because you stopped feeding it with the energy of belief. Stop seeking experiences. This is the most difficult instruction because the spiritual path, as it is commonly understood, is all about seeking experiences. The experience of peace, the experience of awakening, the experience of unity. But every experience comes and goes. Every experience is an object in consciousness. The awareness that knows the experience is what you are, not the experience itself. A man had a profound awakening experience. Bliss, unity, the dissolution of all boundaries. It lasted for days, and then it faded. And he spent years trying to get it back, trying to recreate the conditions that had produced it. His teacher finally said to him, "You are looking for an experience of what you are. But what you are is not an experience. It is what experiences happen to. Stop trying to have the right experience and notice what is always here, experiencing or not." This is the pathless path, not a method, but a seeing, not a practice, but a recognition, not a future achievement, but a present reality that has somehow been overlooked in the search for it. And the reason it has been overlooked is because it is too close, too obvious, too simple. The mind wants complexity. It wants a journey. It wants stages and levels and attainments. But what you are is prior to all of that. A teacher was asked by a student, "I have been practicing for 20 years. Why have I not awakened?" The teacher said, "Because you have been practicing for 20 years." The student did not understand. The teacher continued, "Every moment of practice reinforces the belief that there is a you who is not yet awake. Every technique strengthens the sense that awakening is somewhere else, sometime else. What if you stopped practicing and simply noticed what is already here?" This is not a rejection of practice. Practice has its place. It can calm the mind, create conditions of clarity, remove obstacles. But practice cannot produce awakening. It can only remove what obscures the recognition of what already is. And when the recognition happens, it is seen that nothing was ever actually obscured. The sun was always shining. The clouds that seemed to hide it were never solid. They were always transparent to the one willing to look clearly. So where does this leave you? Right here, right now, with the simple invitation to notice what is present before you interpret it, before you name it, before you decide what it means, or what you should do about it. Just this, the rawness of existence, the fact of being. The consciousness that is aware of these words is the same consciousness that is being pointed to, not the content of consciousness, not the thoughts or perceptions or sensations, but the consciousness itself, the knowing quality, the awareness that is aware. This awareness is not inside your head. It is not produced by your brain. The brain appears in awareness. The entire body appears in awareness. The whole world appears in awareness. And awareness itself does not appear anywhere. It is not an object that could be located. It is the space in which all objects appear, the light in which all things are known, the ground of being that exists prior to being and non-being. When this is recognized, truly recognized, not as an idea, but as the living reality of what you are, the question of how to achieve awakening is seen to be absurd. You cannot achieve what you already are. You cannot reach what has never been absent. You can only stop overlooking it. Stop believing the thoughts that say you are not it. Stop identifying with the limited, vulnerable, mortal creature you appear to be. Stop taking the appearance for the reality. A young seeker came to a teacher and asked, "What is the way to liberation?" The teacher picked up a stick and held it out. "See this stick?" "Yes," said the student. "Where is it?" asked the teacher. "In your hand," said the student. "Look again," said the teacher. The student looked. The stick was in the teacher's hand. The hand was at the end of the arm. The arm was connected to the body. The body was sitting on the ground. The ground was part of the earth. The earth was suspended in space. Space had no location. The student's eyes widened. "The stick is nowhere," he said. "And yet it appears," said the teacher. "Liberation is like this. You appear to be somewhere, to be someone. But when you look directly, you cannot be found. And yet here you are. This paradox is what you are. The recognition of what you are does not make the appearance disappear. The body continues. The mind continues. The person continues to function in the world. But the identification with this appearance as the totality of what you are dissolves. You recognize yourself as the space in which the appearance occurs, the consciousness in which the person appears, the awareness that is aware of the entire display without being limited to any part of it. This recognition brings freedom, not the freedom to do whatever you want without consequences, but the freedom from the fundamental suffering of believing you are a separate entity at the mercy of a world you do not control. You are not at the mercy of anything. You are the totality appearing as this particular form. The entire universe is your body. Every being is yourself. Every experience is your own consciousness, knowing itself through infinite perspectives. Does this mean there is no more difficulty, no more pain, no more confusion? No. The human experience continues with all its challenges, but the relationship to these challenges is fundamentally different. Pain arises in the body and it is felt, but there is no one who is victimized by it. Confusion appears in the mind and it is noticed, but there is no one who is defined by it. Loss occurs in life and it is grieved, but there is no one who is diminished by it. Everything continues. Everything is felt, but the sting of it, the sense that something wrong is happening to you, dissolves in the recognition that there is no you to whom things happen. There is simply life, living itself, experiencing itself, knowing itself through this form. A woman lost her child. The grief was absolute, overwhelming, unbearable, but she had recognized what she was, and so the grief was met not with resistance, but with presence. She did not try to transcend it or spiritually bypass it or tell herself that it was not real. She allowed it completely, and in that allowing, the grief moved through her with a purity and a wholeness that transformed it from suffering into love. She said later, "I am the grief. I am not separate from it. And because I am not separate from it, I am not destroyed by it. It moves through me like a storm through the sky. The sky is never damaged by the storm." This is the fruit of awakening. Not invulnerability to life, but complete permeability to it. Not the absence of feeling, but the full feeling of everything, without the protective barrier of a separate self that must defend against experience. When you recognize that you are not in life, but that life is in you, as you, appearing as you, then everything that happens is welcomed, not because it is pleasant, but because it is real. Because it is the next expression of what you are, because resisting it is resisting yourself. And this welcoming is not passive. Action continues. Strong action, decisive action, appropriate action. But the action arises from the totality rather than from the defended position of a separate self. When you act from the recognition of what you are, the action is aligned with the whole. It serves not just your apparent interests, but the interests of the totality. Because you are the totality, and the apparent others are yourself in different forms. This is why awakening naturally produces compassion, not as a moral achievement or a spiritual ideal, but as the spontaneous recognition that harming another is harming yourself. The division between self and other was the illusion. When the illusion is seen through, love is what remains. Not sentimental love, not the love that needs a reason or seeks a return, but love as the nature of consciousness itself, the natural state of undivided awareness, the way water is wet and fire is hot. So how do you achieve spiritual awakening? You see through the one who wants to achieve it. You investigate the I that believes itself unawakened. You trace this sense of being a separate self back to its source. And when you do this honestly, when you look without flinching, without turning away, without accepting easy answers, what you find is that the self cannot be found. It is a phantom, a convincing phantom, a persistent phantom, but a phantom nonetheless. And when this is seen, not believed but directly perceived, the entire structure collapses, not into nothing, into everything, into the recognition that what you are is not a thing at all, not an object, not even a subject, but the aware space in which all subjects and objects appear. The consciousness that is aware of this moment is what you are, not the content of this moment, the consciousness itself. And this consciousness is one, appearing as many, knowing itself through infinite forms. And you are that. You have always been that. You could never be anything other than that. This is not the end. This is the beginning of a life lived from truth rather than from illusion. The beginning of action that arises from wholeness rather than from fragmentation. The beginning of love that includes everything because it recognizes everything as itself. The spiritual journey does not end with awakening. It begins with it. Because only when you know what you are can you truly live as what you are. Only when the false has been seen through can the true express itself without distortion. And the beauty of this is that it is already happening, right now. You are already that which you seek. The reading of these words is consciousness knowing itself. The understanding or the confusion, both are appearances in what you are. The desire for awakening and the fear of awakening, both are movements within the awareness that you are. Nothing is outside of what you are. Nothing is separate from what you are. This moment, exactly as it is the perfect expression of consciousness knowing itself. And you are that consciousness. Not having that consciousness, not seeking that consciousness, being that consciousness. Rest here, not as an instruction to do something, but as the recognition of what is already the case. You are already resting in what you are. The seeking is happening in you, not by you. The reading is happening in you, not by you. The whole display of life is happening in you, as you, through you. And when this is genuinely recognized, the seeking ends. Not because you found what you were looking for, but because you realized you were never actually seeking. You were playing at seeking. Consciousness was playing at being unconscious so it could experience the joy of remembering itself. And now the game is seen. The play is recognized as play. And what remains is the player, which is what you always were, pretending so convincingly to be a character that even you believed it. The character continues. The play continues. But you are no longer lost in it. You know yourself as the awareness in which the whole drama unfolds. And this knowing is awakening. This knowing is freedom. This knowing is what every teaching has ever pointed toward, what every practice has ever served, what every moment of your life has been preparing you to recognize. You are that. You have always been that. And there is nothing you need to do to be what you already are, except stop believing you are what you are not. But let us go deeper into what this means for your actual life, because awakening is not an escape from life. It is the full embrace of life from the recognition of what you are. And this changes everything about how life is lived. When you live from the recognition that you are awareness itself, the relationship to decision-making transforms completely. Before, decisions were heavy. You were a separate self trying to navigate a complex world, trying to make the right choices, terrified of making wrong ones. Every decision carried the weight of consequences that would affect your separate existence. Should I take this job or that job? Should I stay in this relationship or leave? Should I move to this city or stay where I am? The mind would spin endlessly, analyzing, comparing, projecting into the future, trying to control outcomes. But when you recognize that you are not a separate entity making decisions, but rather consciousness expressing itself through apparent choices, decision-making becomes effortless, not careless, not random, but arising from the totality rather than from the defended position of a separate self. You notice what is pulling you, what has energy, what wants to happen through this form, and you follow that, not blindly, but with trust in the intelligence that has been running the universe since before the appearance of human consciousness. A man spent years agonizing over whether to leave his corporate career to pursue art. The decision seemed monumental. It would affect his finances, his security, his identity, his family's opinion of him. He made lists of pros and cons. He consulted advisors. He meditated on it. He suffered over it. Then, in a moment of clarity, he recognized that he was not the one making the decision. The decision was making itself through him. The pull toward art was not his pull. It was life's pull, consciousness expressing itself through this particular form. And when he saw this, the decision was already made. Not by him, through him. He quit the next day, not recklessly, but with absolute certainty that this was what was happening, regardless of his preferences or fears. This is how life is lived from awakening, not controlled, not managed, but allowed to unfold according to its own intelligence, its own momentum, its own purpose, if purpose is even the right word. You become like water flowing downhill, not passive. Water is tremendously powerful, but it does not force. It follows the natural path, and so do you. The relationship to other people transforms as well. Before awakening, others are experienced as separate entities with their own agendas that may support or threaten your agenda. Every interaction carries this subtle calculation. Is this person for me or against me? Are they seeing me the way I want to be seen? Are they giving me what I need? The entire social world is navigated from the position of a defended self trying to get its needs met while protecting itself from harm. But when you recognize that the consciousness looking through their eyes is the same consciousness looking through yours, the entire dynamic shifts. There is no other. There is only yourself in apparent different forms. This does not mean you lose the capacity to discern. Some forms are aligned with what wants to happen through this form, and some are not. Some relationships serve the unfolding and some obstruct it. But the discernment happens without the overlay of personal defensiveness, without the need to be right, without the fear of being wrong. A woman had a friend who constantly criticized her. Before awakening, she would defend herself, argue, try to change her friend's opinion, or withdraw in hurt silence. After awakening, she simply saw the criticism as her own mind criticizing itself through an apparently external form. The friend was showing her where she was still identified, still defending an image, still believing the story of being someone who could be diminished by words. She thanked the friend silently for the teaching and stopped defending. The friend eventually stopped criticizing because there was nothing to push against. The defended position had dissolved. This is not spiritual bypassing. This is not pretending that harm is not harm, or that boundaries are not needed. If someone is genuinely dangerous, you remove yourself from the situation. But the removal is clean. It is not laden with resentment or victimhood or the story of being wronged. It is simply consciousness recognizing that this particular form and that particular form are not meant to interact in this way at this time, and moving accordingly. The relationship to suffering itself transforms most profoundly. Before awakening, suffering is experienced as something wrong, something that should not be happening, something that proves life is broken, or you are broken, or God is absent. The entire movement is to escape suffering, to fix it, to transcend it, to meditate it away, to think positive thoughts that will override it. But when you recognize what you are, suffering is seen differently. Not as evidence of something wrong, but as energy moving through consciousness, as contraction arising in the vast space of what you are. The suffering is not denied, it is not bypassed, it is met completely, and in the meeting of it, without resistance, something extraordinary happens. The suffering reveals itself to be made of the same substance as everything else. It is consciousness appearing as this particular form of contraction. And when consciousness recognizes itself in the contraction releases. A man was diagnosed with a terminal illness. The physical pain was severe. The mental anguish of facing death was overwhelming. Before his awakening, this would have destroyed him. But from the recognition of what he was, something different occurred. He met the pain completely. He did not resist it or try to transcend it or tell himself spiritual stories about it. He allowed it to be exactly as intense as it was. And in that allowing, he discovered that he was not being destroyed by it. The pain was happening in him, as him, but he was not diminished by it. He was the space in which the pain appeared, vast enough to hold it, intimate enough to feel it completely, and untouched by it in his essential nature. He said, "I am dying and I am not dying. The body is dying. The person is dying. But what I am is deathless. And this is not a consolation. This is what is actually true." He died with complete peace, not because the pain ended, but because the identification with the one who was in pain had been seen through. This is the ultimate freedom. Not freedom from difficulty, but freedom in the midst of difficulty. Not the end of challenges, but the end of the sense that you are a victim of challenges. Life continues with all its intensity, but you are no longer overwhelmed by it because you recognize that you are not a small, vulnerable entity to whom life is happening. You are life itself, experiencing itself through this particular form, and nothing that happens to the form touches what you actually are. The recognition of what you are also transforms the relationship to time. Before awakening, time is experienced as a river carrying you from birth to death, with the present moment as a tiny point between a past you cannot change and a future you cannot control. The entire orientation is toward managing this impossible situation, trying to make the present moment adequate while preparing for a future that never quite arrives, and healing from a past that never quite releases. But when you awaken to what you are, you recognize that time is a concept appearing in the timeless present. The past exists now as memory. The future exists now as anticipation. There is only ever now, not now as a small slice of time, but now as the eternal ground in which all time appears. This is not a philosophical position. This is direct recognition. In any moment, you can notice. Everything you have ever experienced, you experience now. Everything you will ever experience, you will experience now. The now is not moving. Experience is moving through it, like images moving across a screen. But the screen itself is always here, always present, always now. When this is recognized, the urgency drains out of life. Not the energy, not the engagement, but the desperate quality of needing the future to arrive so that the present can finally be adequate. The present is already adequate. It is already complete. It is already whole. Nothing needs to be added to this moment for it to be what it is. And when you stop trying to make the present moment into something it is not, when you stop using the present moment as a means to a future end, the present opens up. It reveals its depth, its richness, its infinite nature. A teacher was asked, "How do I stay present?" He said, "You cannot stay present because you are presence." The question implies that you are somewhere else and need to return to the present moment. But where else could you be? Every moment of distraction is experienced now. Every thought about the future is thought now. Every memory of the past is remembered now. You are always in the only moment there is. The question is whether you recognize this or continue to believe the story that you are somehow outside of now, trying to get back to it. This recognition does not mean you stop planning or remembering. The body-mind continues to function in time, to make appointments, to learn from the past, to prepare for the future. But all of this is recognized as happening now, as the play of consciousness within the eternal present. And when it is recognized as such, it loses its grip. The future is not more important than now. The past is not more real than now. There is only this, eternally this, appearing as the infinite variety of experience. Living from this recognition is what is sometimes called ordinary enlightenment. It is not spectacular. It does not produce constant ecstasy or supernatural powers or immunity to human experience. It is simply life lived from truth rather than from illusion, from wholeness rather than from fragmentation, from presence rather than from the imagined somewhere else. You wake up in the morning and there is simply waking, not you waking up, just waking happening in consciousness. You drink coffee and there is tasting, not you tasting, just the experience of taste arising in awareness. You go to work and there is working, not you working, just the activity happening through this form. You interact with people and there is interacting, not you as a separate entity encountering other separate entities, just consciousness meeting itself in apparently different forms. This sounds simple. It is simple. But the mind finds it difficult because the mind is built on the assumption of separation, on the belief in a you who is doing all of this. And when that belief is seen through, the mind does not know how to function. It fears that without the sense of a separate self, life will become meaningless, motivation will disappear, you will become a passive vegetable incapable of functioning in the world. But this does not happen. What happens is that life becomes more alive, more immediate, more real, because it is no longer filtered through the heavy overlay of the separate self. Action arises more appropriately because it is not distorted by the defended position of a self that needs to protect its interests. Creativity flows more freely because there is no one standing in the way of it, no one worrying about whether the creation will be good enough or successful enough or appreciated enough. Love is more total because there is no one defending against it, no one calculating whether it is safe to love, no one needing love to take a particular form. A painter spent years trying to develop his unique style, trying to create works that would be recognized as significant, trying to make his mark on the art world. Every painting was a struggle, a negotiation between what he wanted to express and what he thought others wanted to see. Then something shifted. He stopped trying to be a great painter. He stopped trying to create anything in particular. He simply picked up the brush and allowed whatever wanted to come through to come through. And what came through was completely different from what he had been forcing. It was simpler, more direct, more true. And paradoxically, this is when his work became recognized. Not because he was trying to be recognized, but because he had stopped trying and allowed his actual nature to express itself. This is the secret of living from awakening. You do not try to be awakened. You do not try to live from truth. You simply stop believing the lie. Stop believing that you are a separate self. Stop defending that position. Stop feeding it with attention and belief. And what remains is what has always been here. Consciousness, aware of being conscious, expressing itself through this particular form, living this particular life, not as a journey towards something, but as the complete and total expression of what is. The ancient ones spoke of this as sahaja samadhi, the natural state, not a state achieved through effort, but the state that is revealed when effort ceases, when seeking stops, when the entire project of becoming is seen to be unnecessary. You are already what you seek. The recognition of this is immediate and total. It does not require time. It does not require preparation. It simply requires honesty, the willingness to look at what is actually here without the filter of belief, without the demand that it be something other than it is. And what is here is extraordinary. Not extraordinary in the sense of rare or special, but extraordinary in the sense of beyond the ordinary categories of the mind. You are the consciousness in which the entire universe appears. The stars are in you. The mountains are in you. Every being that has ever lived is a form you have taken. Every moment that has ever occurred is a moment you have experienced. You are not a part of the universe. You are the universe, knowing itself through this particular aperture. this particular form, this particular expression. When this is deeply, genuinely, totally recognized, not as a concept, but as the living reality of what you are, the search ends. The spiritual journey is complete, not because you have arrived somewhere, but because you have recognized that there was never anywhere to go. The entire journey was consciousness playing at being lost, so it could experience the joy of being found. And now the game is seen. The play is recognized as play. And what remains is the silent, spacious, eternal presence that you are, that has always been you, that could never be anything other than you. This is spiritual awakening, not a destination, not an achievement, not a state, but the recognition of what is always already the case. You are that, and that is all there is. But the mind will resist this simplicity. It will say this cannot be awakening, because awakening is supposed to be something extraordinary, something that produces permanent bliss, something that ends all suffering forever, something that grants special powers or cosmic understanding. And when the current moment does not match these expectations, the mind concludes that awakening has not occurred, and the search must continue. But this is the trap. The search for a future awakening is what prevents the recognition of present awakeness. The pursuit of an extraordinary state is what blinds you to the extraordinary ordinariness of what is. Awakening is not a state. States come and go. They have a beginning and an end. They are phenomena within consciousness. Awakening is the recognition of what consciousness is, what you are, prior to all states. This recognition does not produce constant bliss. It produces a fundamental shift in relationship to all states. Bliss arises and is recognized as an appearance in what you are. Suffering arises and is recognized as an appearance in what you are. Neither touches the awareness in which they appear. Neither defines what you are. Neither has the power it once had to convince you that you are a person to whom things are happening. This is why the question, how do I achieve awakening, must be turned back on itself. The I that wants to achieve is the problem. The sense of being a separate entity who must do something to become awakened is precisely the illusion that awakening sees through. You do not awaken. Awakening happens when the you is seen to have never existed as a separate entity in the first place. What remains is not nothing. What remains is everything. What remains is consciousness, recognizing itself as all that is, no longer divided into self and other, subject and object, the awakened and the unawakened. Start where you are, not where you think you should be, where you actually are, in this moment, sitting or standing, breathing, aware, alive. Notice the aliveness, not as a concept, as the felt sense of existence in this body, the warmth, the weight, the subtle movements, the breathing happening by itself. Notice that you are aware of all of this, and notice that this awareness is not separate from what it is aware of. The separation is conceptual. In direct experience, there is no gap between awareness and the breathing, between consciousness and the body, between the knowing and what is known. There is simply this seamless presence, this undivided being, this moment exactly as it is. Stay with this, not as a meditation technique, not as a practice you do for 20 minutes and then abandon, as the recognition of what is always already the case. In any moment, regardless of what is happening, you can notice, I am. Not, I am this person with this history, or I am enlightened, or I am unenlightened. Just, I am. This noticing is not an activity. It is the relaxation into what is prior to activity. It is the recognition of the ground of being that exists before any particular identity is assumed. And this ground is not empty in the nihilistic sense. It is not a void of nothingness. It is the fullness of existence itself, the totality of consciousness, the infinite presence that is appearing as all things. When you rest in the simple recognition of being, the boundaries that seem to separate you from the world begin to dissolve. Not dramatically, not as a mystical experience that you can report to others, but as a quiet knowing that grows in the background of ordinary life. The knowing that what you are is not confined to this body, not limited to this mind, not defined by this history. The knowing that consciousness is one, appearing as many, and that you are that one consciousness, here, now, always. This knowing does not make you special. It reveals that there is no separate you to be special. It does not elevate you above others. It reveals that there are no others, only the one consciousness appearing as apparently different forms. It does not end the functioning of the person. The person continues to act, to speak, to engage with life, but the identification with the person loosens. The belief that you are only this person, only this limited form, only this temporary appearance, dissolves in the recognition of what you actually are. And what are you? You are what is reading these words, not the eyes that see them, not the mind that interprets them, but the awareness in which the seeing and the interpreting occur. You are what is aware right now, not aware of something in particular, not in a special state, just aware. Consciousness being conscious. Existence being. This is not a small thing posing as you. This is what you are pretending to be small, the infinite appearing as the finite, the eternal appearing as the temporal, the boundless appearing as the bounded. And when the pretense is seen through, when the game is recognized as a game, nothing changes, and everything changes. The world continues, exactly as it was, but you are no longer lost in it. This is spiritual awakening. The recognition of what is here, now, always. The seeing of what you are beneath every thought, every emotion, every experience, every identity. The knowing of the ground of being that is closer to you than your own breath, more intimate than your own heartbeat, more present than presence itself. You do not need to become this. You need only to recognize that you are this. And the recognition does not come through effort. It comes through the release of effort. It comes through the willingness to stop, even for a moment, the constant striving to be something other than what is. It comes through the simple honesty of looking at what is actually here without the filter of belief, without the overlay of thought, without the desperate need for it to be something more than it is. What is here is enough. What you are is enough. The consciousness that knows these words, that is aware of being aware, that exists prior to every story you have ever told about yourself, is what every spiritual teaching has ever pointed toward. Not because it is hidden, not because it is difficult to find, but because it is so close, so obvious, so completely what you already are, that the mind overlooks it in its search for something more extraordinary. Stop searching, not as a new spiritual practice, not as a technique of surrender, but as the natural cessation that happens when the futility of the search is genuinely seen. You cannot find what you are by looking for it, because you are what is doing the looking. You cannot achieve what you are by striving for it, because you are what is doing the striving. You can only recognize in this moment that the awareness that is aware right now is not something you possess. It is what you are, and it has never been absent, not for a single moment, not even when you were convinced you were lost. You are not lost. You have never been lost. The lostness was a dream. The seeking was a dream. The entire spiritual journey was consciousness playing at being unconscious, so it could experience the joy of remembering what it never actually forgot. And now, in this moment, the remembering is available, not as a memory of the past, but as the recognition of what is present, always present, prior to every thought, deeper than every feeling, more fundamental than every experience, the simple, undeniable, eternally obvious fact of being. You are. This is awakening. This is all awakening ever is or could be. The recognition of what you are and have always been, without the need for it to be anything more than this.